All right. Welcome to Frank Teaches DevOps. All right. Okay. Welcome to Frank Teaches DevOps. In this series, I am going to show us how to deploy um, microservices to Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes cluster. Figlet is not rendering. Figlet is not rendering. Microservices to Kubernetes cluster. Okay, all right. So deploy your microservices to Kubernetes cluster using Argo CD. So using Argo CD, we are going to deploy our microservices application, our manifest, all right, from GitHub to your Kubernetes cluster. So let's see that in a brief. Okay, so this is my small architecture. So this is the architecture, and so this the user's part. The user has access to GitHub repo where your applications are stored, all right, where your code are stored. Then the user also uh, could have access to the Argo CD web UI as well as the Argo CD CLI. All right. And now on the Kubernetes side, we have the main cluster, which is maybe it could be your production cluster, which is the Kubernetes cluster. All right. So on the Kubernetes cluster, you will now in the Kubernetes cluster, there are you deploy in the Kubernetes cluster. You can now deploy your Argo CD. You can install your Argo CD on the Kubernetes cluster, where all right. Okay, so once your Kubernetes cluster is installed, once your Argo CD installed in your Kubernetes cluster, you can now start. You can now go ahead to access um, the Argo CD via the web UI or via the CLI. Okay, so there are two ways you can access your Argo CD deployment on your cluster via the web UI or the CLI. And the Argo CD comes with bundles of components. All right, we have the Argo CD server, we have the Argo CD Repo Server, we also have the Argo CD app controller, and we have the Redis as well as the Dex server. So I'm going to explain each of these components one after the other. So the Argo CD server is responsible. It is a server that enables you. That's where your Argo CD application runs. All right. So it's a component that controls the Argo CD itself. All right. So via the help of the Argo CD server, you will be able to access your Argo CD application via the web UI or via CLI with the help of the Argo CD server. Then the repo server component is responsible for integrating your GitHub repository with your Argo CD serve environment. Then the app controller is responsible for deploying your app in your Kubernetes environment. The Redis is definitely for caching, memory caching and all that. Then the Dex server is like a gateway where you can now add through the Dex server. You'll be able to add uh, other other uh, Kubernetes clusters to your to add other Kubernetes cluster where your Argo CD will be able to to manage them, so that you'll be able to manage them. But that is only possible through Argo CD CLI. So on the Argo CD web UI, you won't be able to add your clusters. adding other external additional clusters is possible via the Argo CD CLI. However, today's episode, right, is just for just a single cluster implementation of Argo CD. All right, maybe in our next series, I will be able to show us how we can add additional clusters to our Argo CD. All right, original clusters to our Argo CD through the CLI. All right, but for today's episode is just how we can be able to manage our deployments from Argo CD to our Kubernetes cluster. So that is it. That is it. So yeah, so let's get our hands dirty. So the first thing first, I I should okay, we should hop on to Google and see how we can get Argo CD up and running. Argo CD GitHub. Argo CD GitHub. This is what you get. Argo CD, Argo project, Argo CD declarative continuous deployment. So this is how you get to install Argo CD on your Kubernetes cluster. But mind you, let's check something. kubectl get nodes. All right. So I have a cluster with two worker nodes. So I have deployed this cluster via AWS. I've used EKS. All right. So EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. So here is my cluster, EKS cluster with two worker nodes. All right. So with two worker nodes. So if I do them here, so this is what I get. Okay. All right. So if I say all wide, I'm going to get in details so you can see same thing here. Okay. So I'm using a managed Kubernetes cluster. Okay. All right. So let's see how we can get Argo CD installed on our cluster. All right. So what I will do, I'll just click on the version release. I'll click on the version release and to take me to where I can use kubectl to run the deployment, the manifest, the Argo CD manifest. All right, so there are two phases. One which is non high availability. All right, so if you're going to deploy this, it means that you might not be able to have those high availability features that Argo CD comes with. But if you're going this route, you'll be able to get high availability. Okay, so all right, so either ways, this is just for testing. So let's see how we can start off with the non high availability. So you copy the first command, which is creating the namespace. All right. So Argo CD create namespace Argo CD. Sorry, kubectl create namespace Argo CD. Then the next command is actually installing all the components that we discussed here. So that's this command, this manifest. All right, it has definition for the Argo CD components, like the Argo CD server, the Repo server, the app controller, the Redis, as well as the Dex server. So let's see what this will bring. So copy, go in here, paste that. All right. Okay. So app controller, the Dex server is being created. All right. So these are the service accounts. Let's see. So they are majorly the component, the Argo CD components. Let's get them installed. All right, so like take some time. I'm gonna pause the video and I'll be right back when it's done. Okay, is being created. It's taking its time. All right, config map services, so you can see the services that corresponds to the deployment. Let's see, and that is it. Network policies, stateful cells, and all that. So let's check all of that. So kubectl get all. The namespace is Argo, but before then, let's check our namespace. Kubectl gets what namespace. So in my Kubernetes cluster, I have the ArgoCD namespace. I also have the default namespace that this cluster came with the very first time it was set up. Okay. All right. So kubectl get all in what namespace? Argo CD namespace. All right. So this is going to get me everything, both deployment, services, stateful sets, pods. So you can see, let's narrow it down a bit. So not getting all. Let's say get pods. So here are the ports, all right. So different ports we have that came with these Kubernetes, sorry, the Argo CD deployment. All right, so this has been set up. So now, how do we access our Argo CD web UI? So now I'm the user now, so I'm trying to access all of these components has been set up already. So the next phase is us seeing how we can access our Argo CD environment via the web UI. So this is what we'll do. So if I say kubectl get service, namespace is what Argo CD. So let's see the services. Okay, so this is the Argo CD server. So this is the service, this particular service that we are interested in. So this is where on the Argo CD server is where the Argo CD web UI and the Argo CD CLI runs. Okay, so now as it is now, the type is set to cluster IP, meaning that it can only be accessible within the cluster. All right, but however, I want to access this application externally. So externally, so for that purpose, I need to edit this type. I need to edit the type to either a node port or a load balancer. All right. So in our context, let's see how we can use a node port instead. So I'll say kubectl edit service and the service name. The service name is Argo CD server. So once I hit enter, sorry, namespace. In which namespace? Sorry. In this namespace, Argo CD. In that namespace, Argo CD. All right, so I'll quickly go down and look for where I can see type. So you can see the type is set to what cluster IP. So I will change it to what node port. So once that is changed to notepad, I will escape and save my editing. So I've just edited the service. So you can see it said Argo server service edited. So now if I now say kubectl get what service namespace Argo CD, I should be able to see that my type node type has changed from cluster IP to node port. So node port meaning that I will be able to access this application externally via through this port. All right, that's correct. Okay, so for that now we need to hop onto my AWS account and EC2 and then pick my public IP to the public IP to my node. Or as well, I can come back here and say kubectl get nodes all wide. Let's see if I can get the I can get okay, yeah, I can get the public IP. Great. So here's the public IP. So either of this public IP in conjunction with the port number, right? So take one of these node IPs, copy, uh, then come over here, paste it, column. The port number which that service is export is 32384, column 32384. I hit enter. Okay. Okay, since we are running these services through what's it called, through the AWS. All right, so there's something called the security group, which is a firewall. So this port has not really been opened through the firewall. So I may need to go and open this port. I will need to open this port, save copy, open this port, and go to my EC2 instance. Go to my worker nodes. My worker nodes, which of the nodes have I used? Not this one, worker node 1. All right, so worker node 1, I go to security group. So on there are two security groups it created. So the one with remote access. All right, so click on the remote access security group, and I'm going to edit the inbound rules. So edit inbound rule. So add the rule custom TCP. Then I'm going to paste that port number. So here's the port number. So the source will be any IP, then save the rules. So the moment I save the rules and I come back to my web URL and my browser and I refresh, I should be able to get this notification. Now, this is just a self-signed certificate, so we don't have a what's it called, a wildcard certificate. So that's okay. So you can say advance and proceed to this URL. So automatically, once that is all set, it will bring up the web UI interface for Argo CD. So if we come back to our diagram, so at this stage, we have been able to access our Argo CD web UI with the help of the Argo CD server component. So by default, the username by default to log into Argo CD is admin. Then the password is saved somewhere. All right, so this password is saved in secret. So if I say kubectl get secrets, get secret namespace is Argo CD. All right. So there's an initial password for Argo CD, and that is saved under this. All right. So that's the secret name. So I will now say kubectl get secret namespace secret name. Secret name is this. Okay, if I hit enter, I'm going to get this as it is, the upper, the type is upper. Then I'll go further. All right, so I'm going to use a JSON output. I'll say minus o JSON path. So I'll specify the JSON path to this this secret file. So what I want to do now is I want to get the value the value of the admin user, the password, definitely the password to the admin user inside of this secret file. Okay, so the path JSON path will be double quotes open brace dot data dot password. Okay, then I'm going to close it, and since this if I hit enter now, we are going to see some stuff. So this password, okay, let me start it from here. So if I remove this part, JSON -o JSON. So I'm going to see the password in this format. All right. So this format is base 64 format. As you can see, it's the same thing as this. So this just targeted the JSON path of the password. This is data. This is how I targeted my JSON path. So I use the data dot password. All right. So if I want to target the key value of a JSON file, this is how you do it. You say JSON path. So you specify the parent, which is the data, then the key is password. So the same way, if I want to, let's say I want to get the UID. So what I will do, I will just say I will say JSON path is equal to double quotes bracket open dot metadata metadata dot UID. So this should be able to get me the UID of this stuff. Let's see. So you can see. So this is how I target the value of this JSON file. All right. So I can just use that with the help of JSON path. I can target any of these contents in my JSON file. All right. But in this context, we are just interested with the password part. So that's why we are targeting this password part. So what did I do? Okay. So this will be password, and that will be data. So with this, I should be able to get my, what's it called, my password. But this password is already encrypted using what, base 64. So for us to see the raw password, I'm going to decrypt it, base 64 minus D. So I'm going to decode this base 64 value. So if I hit enter, I should get the original password. So this is the original password that was encrypted. So I'll copy this and come to my web UI and paste the result there and click on sign in. So we are now inside of our Argo CD application. So at this juncture, I should be able to now deploy my application. So now let's see now. So we are through with up till this part, up till the web UI part. So the next part will be integrating your GitHub repository, all right, where your application is stored into your Argo CD web UI, so it could be managed and your application could be deployed to your Kubernetes cluster. So, all right, let's see that part now. Okay, so these are manage your application and blah blah blah. These are settings. If I click on settings, if I go to settings, I'm going to see repository. This is where you add your repository. Is it from GitHub? Is it from Bitbucket? Wherever you want to integrate from. Is it from AWS? Is it from Azure? Wherever. All right. Okay. So now let's look at the user information. You can see the user is admin, issuer is this, and what's this? This documentation. All right. Go back to settings. You can always come to accounts. You see the user you created, which is admin. I think here you can let's see, this is token, okay, token base. All right, so go back to settings and yeah, so let's move. You can see your cluster here. So this is the original cluster that you added. All right, so if you want to add more clusters as it is in this diagram, you can now use Argo CD CLI. But this session is not for adding additional cluster to our Argo CD environment. So in our next episode, I will show us how we can add additional cluster. It could be your dev cluster, dev environment, and your staging environment cluster to your Kubernetes, to your Argo CD environment. Okay, so for this purpose, we shall stick to just deploying our application from GitHub to our Kubernetes cluster. So now we are going to integrate GitHub with Argo CD. So connect repo with using HTTPS. All right. So the type is Git. The project is default project. That's why you can create other projects using your CLI. Let me come back here. Let me see if I can have project. Okay, project. So you have default projects. I think okay, new project. You can create further project, right? Create new project as name may be blah blah blah. Project name. Uh, um, let's say Bob microservices. Okay, microservices. All right, and description deploys microservices. All right, and you click on what, create project. So that project is created. So if I go back to that, and I should be able to see two projects, default project as well as bulk microservices. All right, so let's see how we can integrate our GitHub repository to our Argo CD. So click on via HTTPS. The type is this, and the projects, you should be able to see those two projects, but I want to go with the default for now. Then our repository, your GitHub URL. So GitHub URL, on my GitHub URL, I have a simple YAML definition. Just a simple manifest, Nginx manifest. If I open this is a service. There, let me check the deployment first. Let me open the deployment. Here is my YAML deploy. Sorry, my Nginx deployment. So in this energy, just simple, very simple to display your Nginx web URL and labels. The spec, that's the definition for the container. I have got for the pod. Sorry, it's going to spin me one pod, and yeah, and the container spec for the container. I'm using an image from Nginx, just a basic and official container Nginx image from Docker. All right, from Docker. So this is just simple, something simple, okay? And yeah, so I'm going to copy my URL, HTTPS, copy that, go to your Argo CD and paste your repository URL. That is pasted. So username and password, these are optional, very, very optional. So that's all. That's all you need to do and click on what? Connect. So once you click on connect, if everything goes fine, you should be able to get successful. So it's been successful. So my GitHub has been synced into my what? Argo CD environment. Okay, so the next thing, everything is set. The next thing we need to do is to create our application. All right, so go to your manage application icon. Then you can easily click on new app, or you can just click on create application. Either ways. So what's the application name? Application name, let's just call it Nginx demo app. Okay, Nginx demo app. The project where you are deploying into is what? Default. Okay, now the synchronization policy. There are two types of synchronization policy. One is manual and the other is automatic. So manual will enable you to just to manually synchronize your application with to manually synchronize the application. All right, whenever there is a changes either on the GitHub side or the Kubernetes side, yeah, when you come to your Argo CD, your Argo CD will always show that your application is out of sync. So for that, you will come here and manually sync your application. So I'm going to show us how this is done. So I'll start with what? Manual synchronization policy. So okay, the next phase is source. Where are you getting your application from? I'm getting my application from what? From GitHub. So this is where my application is coming from. Revision headers. Okay, the path. So the path to my manifest. So if you can see very well from my GitHub repository, here's my repository. All right. So I have where my YAML files are defined. So I'm going to specify this path. So the path is YAMLs. All right. So inside of YAMLs, I have my what? My YAML deployment files and services. I have these two files. All right. So on Argo CD, I'm going to define that path as well. YAML. Destination URL. Where am I going to deploy into? I'm going to deploy into my default Kubernetes cluster. All right, so this is going to default Kubernetes cluster. If I had gotten other, if I have added other cluster like the dev cluster and the staging cluster to my Argo CD environment, I should be able to have those cluster listed here as well. So now the namespace I'm going to deploy into a microservice namespace. Do I have such namespace? Kubectl get namespace. Okay, there is none. So this is what I'll do. I'll just create a default namespace. A namespace. Kubectl create namespace. Let me call it microservices. All right. So that has been created. So if I try to get the namespace, I should get microservices. So in this namespace, I'm going to deploy my application. So I'm going to paste that here. Sorry, namespace microservices. Microservices. I think that's all. So if I further this, what this directory structure means is if I have other directory inside of YAMLs, all right, assuming I have other directory here, I may need to also specify those directories so that Argo CD will be able to recursively, all right, deploy the YAML files in those directories. So since I don't have anything, so that's all, and just go ahead and click on what? Create. So you see this part, it will go into automatically into out of sync. So you can see my application is out of sync because I have set the synchronization policy towards manual. So if I come back here, my sync policy is set to manual. So manual means that I may have to manually synchronize, put this application into sync. Okay, where is that place? Application details. Synchronization policy. So synchronization policy is not mentioned, but it's manual. Okay, so I may have to sync it. All right, can you see sync policy is set to manual? All right, so let's go back to our application, close here, come to application, then we're going to have this. So all you need to do, just click on what? Sync. Not until you click on sync, this application will be in out of sync. So click on sync, so and this, it will bring up this page. Just click on what? Synchronize. So once you click on synchronize, it will still processing. It's in progress. It has already been synced, and is healthy. So we have one healthy application. So one sync application. Do we have any application in progress? There's no application in progress. All right. So let's check. There's no application in progress. So my application has been deployed to my Kubernetes cluster. So how do we know? So come back to your cluster environment, and this is what you do. So you say kubectl get all in namespace microservices. In this namespace microservices. So with this, I should be able to get all my deployments I have done in this namespace. Okay, so I have this pod, Kubernetes pod. I also, sorry, Nginx pod. I have this Nginx deployment, and we don't have service. kubectl gets service in namespace microservices. Wow, 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 wow. Available is one current. Um, Still processing. Let's see. Mhm, mhm. If we don't, let's see what we have. Refresh app. LD is one. Refresh. Mm, it's LD. Close. Let's check services. Name is Nginx. So why is it not coming up? Type is not board. Let's see. Mhm, mhm. Whoa, 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 whoa. kubectl gets all. Let's see. Okay, Nginx service. So why is it was it not coming up? Why was it not coming up? This is from all namespaces. All right. kubectl gets service from namespace. Let me see. Okay, get service. This should get me from. All right. So did it deploy? So default. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So yeah. So that's okay. That's fine. Then our deployment is up and running. Our service is also up and running. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to access this node application, this Nginx on our external URL. So this is what we'll do. So get service. Um, let's see it wide. So this our Nginx service is running on. 32450. All right. So 32450. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to open this port 32450 on um on an on a worker node, one of the worker nodes. So edit, I still have that open. So add the rule. It's a custom TCP. So the port number is 32450. Then yeah, this is it, and save. Okay, so this port has been opened. So let's see how we can access our Nginx application on that port number. Okay, so let me open a new, this is port number, then the IP, this is node IP. Take that node IP, copy it, come over here, go to the beginning, paste it, you put your color. So let's see if everything goes well as planned. We should be able to access that application. So it's like there's some issue. kubectl get ports. Let me see something. Namespace microservices. We have issues. It's up and running. Um, get services. All right. kubectl gets nodes 159. So let me try this if this should go. Duplicates. Mhm. Paste, enter. Okay, we're having let's do this. Bam 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 bam. Okay, is like our service is running in a different namespace. So if you come to, let's see, this is our service. The namespace is default, so it's running a default namespace. My bad, I didn't change that. So this is what we'll do. Do kubectl edit service engines, because when you do kubectl get service, you can see that we have the Nginx service already running, but it's running on a different namespace. So it's running on a default namespace. So if I do kubectl in my namespace I have created microservices, you won't see it. So this is what we'll do. We need to go and edit kubectl, edit service. Service name is what? Nginx. Okay. All right. So once we go in there, um, let me not do it from the cluster. Let me do it from Git repository. All right. Let me do it from the Git repository. So from my Git repository, I will come here and click on edit, so that you're going to see how your application is going to go out of sync on Argo CD. Just watch. This application now is going to go out of sync. Let's see. Why is it taking that long? Namespace. Okay, all right. So my namespace is micro services. So this is the microservices. So I'm going to click on commit. So the moment I click on commit, come over here, my application should automatically go out of sync. So if I refresh my app, refresh the app, it should go out of sync. Close. Can you see? My application is now out of sync. So I may now have to manually sync this application, right? Great. So sync it. Let's see, because I've made changes, synchronize. I've made changes to the application. It's now in sync. So if I come back to my Kubernetes cluster, I say kubectl get service in namespace microservices. I should be able to get my Nginx running in this namespace. All right, so that's fine. So if I now say kubectl get all in namespace microservices, I should be able to get all my deployments, both deployments, ports, services in this namespace. So you can see my service is now coming. So the node type is what? Node port. So that being said, if I go back to my application and I refresh, I should um I should be able to get my, let's see, let's see. It takes time to sync, takes some time, it takes some time. Service, right, is not coming. Okay, QCTL get service wide. Let's see. Oh, the port has changed. Sorry, the port number has changed to 3256562. So copy this. Come here and add that port number. Security. Come over here. Your access. Edit your inbound rule. So add a rule, custom, and paste the port number. All right. So IP, but we shall look for a way how we can make that's target port. So that you have to define in your manifest. Okay. So that has been set. So if I come here and paste that port, we should be up and live. So this is your application, your Nginx application up and running. So this is how you deploy your application to Kubernetes cluster with the help of Argo CD. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. If I refresh, everything should be okay. Same port, sorry. Change the port number. This should as well go. Reload. Why is not coming here? So this paste, and then yes, so this is what you get as your application. So finally we've been able to deploy our application from Argo CD to our Kubernetes cluster. So in our next series, and sorry, in our next episode, we shall see how we can add our dev cluster and our staging cluster to our Argo CD environment. So thank you, and have a nice day.